I never knew that it was possible to grow in dark places. I never knew that. I always thought that, oh God, why do you have me in such tight constraints? Why am I buried so deep in the soil? Where is your light? Change my environment, change my situation so that I could grow. I had no idea that all along the roots were running deep into the soil, very deep into the soil, and that at just the right time, when his light is shining at its brightest, I'm able to come out of that soil and sprout and grow and produce good fruit, not only for myself and my family, but for others. God placed it on my heart to do this lesson today about growing in dark places. And I'll explain why. There was an event that I went to a couple days ago. And by the way, you're listening to Unlocking Greatness podcast with Zenja Glass. I didn't forget to start with that, but I just wanted to go right into the lesson. And I think that I'm going to call this podcast Growing in Dark Places. But God took me through a situation a couple of days ago. I was at this amazing event. I can't go into much detail other than it was an event for lots of CEOs and business owners to attend. And somehow they messed up. At some point they had a guest speaker, and they messed up when they said, can anyone, they didn't use the word give a testimony, but that's kind of how I took it. But can anyone talk about someone or something in their lives that's greatly changed or helped them? And they messed up by giving me the microphone, right? Because you guys know I talk to everybody. So they gave me the microphone, and I just stood up just for a minute just to talk about the change that came in my life when I realized for the first time ever, the outside doesn't need to change in order for me to be happy. And I remember saying on the microphone, I said, I always thought that the outside needed to change in order for me to be happy. I never knew that I could actually grow from a dark place. I never knew that I can grow in situations that many would say are so bad, so depressing, so whatever. I had no idea that there was power to grow in that. I always thought my circumstances had to change, or these people need to change, or whoever's treated me wrong in my life, and da-da-da-da. And I always thought that it was external. And that if they would just act right, do me right, right? If the soil would just loosen up a little bit and I can come above ground, then I could be happy. Then I could be joyful. Then I could appreciate life more. Then I could grow. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Then I could be prosperous. Then I could run a business. Then I could, feel good about life. Then I could be happy. Then I can actually have peace and joy. I had no idea that I had it backwards. It was all internal. In the very places, the very situations and circumstances that I was praying for God to take away in my life. And I'm talking some really deep stuff, you all. That was the very thing that fertilized the soil and gave me the nutrients, as odd as that sounds, so just follow me. Gave me the nutrients and fertilized that soil so that I could grow. It developed perseverance in me. It developed character. God began to show himself to me in the dark places. And it was only for me, I'm speaking just for me, in the darkest places that I grew the most. So at this event I was attending, I stood up and shared a little bit of that. I had none of this planned. It was just, we had a guest speaker. I was away for a couple of days at a business event for a lot of CEOs and people, that owns companies and what have you. And when they gave me the mic, and I don't know, I was just kind of sharing about it a little bit. And I mentioned about, having a podcast, and just that I love that I get to encourage people which are in dark places. And I love that I get to encourage people to see things differently in life. And I get to use all of my past experiences, all the pain, everything I've been through, to show people that even in dark places you can grow. I wish you all could have been there to see how the room just lit up. Now, here we are. I am at some executive conference with all of these amazing, amazing business owners for a couple of days. And I'm sharing about something that really, for the most part, is totally off subject. I don't think they even expected to hear that from me when they gave me the mic. So I'm going to jump to what happened, and then I'm going to jump back into growing from dark places. So I just want to explain why I brought that up. The conversations that I had with people at that event, after sharing that, because later that evening we all sat by the fire pit, and I don't want to go into detail because some of them now are going to listen to the podcast, so I don't want to give specifics of what they shared, but I'll tell you this. So many people came to me and talked to me afterwards and not only wanted to know more, it was just so obvious to me that they were thirsting for that extra push, that extra knowledge, just in terms of how do I grow from a dark place. And I wish I could share some of the things that they confided in me. And I'm talking CEOs and owners who have, companies far larger than mine. Like, some of them have, locations in every state. And the way that they open up and shared very personal things, and I won't go into any of it, it blew me away. Because I think sometimes, maybe there should be a part 2 to this, because I don't want to drift too far, because I'm about to go into another topic and I want to stay on dark places. So maybe I'll do a part 2. But I think sometimes we are fooled by thinking people that seem to have it all together, I think we're fooled into thinking that they have it made. I think there's a misconception that those who seem to have it together don't struggle as much with dark places, and nothing could be further from the truth. I wish I can go into detail with some of the things that was shared with me. It was so intense and so personal, and I'm talking from multiple owners, but I think it would be inappropriate, and I won't do that, especially now that many of them said they're going to start listening to the podcast. So I'll just say, what I walked away from with that, I thought, God, what did you just do to make the little bit that I said become such a focus to the point where one or two of them at the event said, you're going to have to put together a class or something, Z, and next time when we do this, you're going to have to teach it. Because so many of us are going through things and are in dark places. And we often get overlooked because it doesn't seem as if we need anything. And that's what made me kind of go back into my little spaces of when I felt like, oh my God, I'm in such a dark place. It really dawned on me. And I was talking to God about this. And there are some other situations happen. I'm trying to give you the shortest version. None of it was wasted. All of the dark moments and dark places I've been in my life, none of it's been wasted. And you all know that I'm working on a book. I don't even have a release date, so I'm not going to throw it out there yet. But that's sort of the premise around what the book is about, all of these dark places I've been through and how God has pulled me out. God is writing the book, not me, so I can only write it on his time. When he gives me a release date, I'll let you know. But that's the premise of what it's all about, is that none of it has been wasted. It's in the dark places. Now, of course, I'm looking back. When you look back, you can see it. Some of you may be in those dark places right now. And you may be feeling all kinds of things. From anxiety to depression and probably a million other things. And I highly advise, by the way, I'm not a professional counselor. Seek professional care if you feel you need that. I just want to make sure I say that. But some of you may be in those places right now and you're wondering, God, where are you? Or you're kind of like how I was. Like, I knew God was there, but I'm just like, but this is a mess. Like, how long am I going to be in this dark space? I didn't realize I can grow in that. That's the point I'm trying to get to you all. I had no idea. It reminds me when I grew up on a farm. Many of you know my grandfather practically raised me until I was a preteen. That's a story all by itself. Yes, my mother was in my life, but she was young herself and going through a lot. And oh my God, at that time in abusive relationships and just a lot. I don't want to get into that one right now, but I'll just say my grandfather was very instrumental in raising me. And what I love about my grandpa, God bless his soul, he had a huge garden, huge farm. And I'm going to try not to deviate because I could talk about him all day. But I love that he taught me the importance of planning. I wish I had a plan in front of me. I would have done a demonstration, but I don't. But many times we planted seeds into the ground and we had to cover them up. And depending on what we were planting, oh my goodness, I'm getting emotional because I'm taking it so personal. Depending on what we were planting, we had to plant it really deep. And for quite a while, it looks like there's nothing happening. There's nothing sprouting, above ground yet. And I'd go out there in the gardens with my grandpa in the early morning, and other than seeing a heap of dirt, all the way down the rows, because he had rows and rows, that's how he farmed. It just seemed like a waste of time. It seemed like there was no growth. Oh, can't believe I'm sitting here looking into a camera fighting back tears. Some of you already get where I'm going with this. It just seemed like there was no growth. God, help me. Help me, God, to get it out. Can you imagine being the seed? I'm looking at it from the point of view of the farmer, right? I went out, I sowed the seed as deep into the ground. But I knew some was going to eventually grow because that's kind of what's always happened. But can you imagine being the seed? Can you imagine being in those dark places for what seems like years and years? You all know with the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. Sorry about that noise. That was my glasses dropping. But can you imagine being the seeds deep in that soil? Constricted. There's constraints. It's dark. It's cold. I don't see any sunlight. As I think about those moments in my life, and I'm reflecting, by the way, I now see all along I was growing. And I now see that God loved me enough to allow the roots to run deep, so that when I sprouted up and when his light shined on me at just the right time, thank you, Jesus, just the right time when his light shined on me, I was able to sprout and grow and turn around and produce fruit for others, or whatever it is we were growing. We were always growing something in the garden. But just imagine, go back to being that seed. And some of you may feel that now. I'm not going to lie to you. It's only in hindsight that I'm able to see it. It's only in hindsight. So I'm not some person that I've arrived, It's only in hindsight. I just want to encourage those who are the seeds right now in dark places. You're growing. Just the fact that you haven't given up. The fact that you're still striving. The fact that you have the audacity to still pray even when your prayers have not been answered. The fact that you're giving it another day and then another day. And yeah, I know you have your hard moments, but the fact that you've not given up. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you're growing. Those roots are running deep. You're developing that character, that perseverance. Had I missed the stages of being seeds, And had I not been in dark places for so long, and if you don't have time now, go watch a video. I did a podcast on bananas and potatoes. That was one of the most viral videos we put out. And the video was just about, comparing bananas to potatoes. I don't know, God just gave me that analogy, and I just did a quick video on it, and how the bananas are above ground and the potatoes are like, I'm in this soil, I'm in this dirty place, and why do I have to be down here? And my point of the video is God knew exactly what he was doing when he placed you in that soil. So I want to reiterate that point. He knows exactly what he's doing with whatever stage you are at in your life. I had no idea. As a result of all of that, such character would be developed in me. And everything about me, and I'm not saying I'm this perfect person, because God knows I mess up every day. You guys know that. Go back and listen to some of my podcasts if you don't believe me. Every day I do something wrong to some degree. But what he has produced in me, and this fruit that's coming out of me, is now feeding and helping other people. So I want to go back to that event I was just at. Because I spoke from my heart, and God had me recall the dark places, and how all along he was growing me, and how that environment not only did not need to change, I don't even want it to change, because it would have messed me up if I would have sprouted up too quickly. I was able to touch the hearts of so many CEOs and executives who then came to me and said, I got to start listening to this podcast, or in some way or another literally open up their lives to me. And there was more to it. Even afterwards, I went to an event, and I was downtown, and I'm sure the lady, I didn't even ask for her name. I just thought about that. But gosh, I should have asked for her name. But someone ran up to me in the mall. I was downtown the other day, and I rarely shop, by the way, because I'm really not a shopper, believe it or not. But anyway, it was a friend's birthday, and I was just out treating her. And this lady ran up to me, and she says, I know you. I know you. And I'm thinking, I've never met you before. I don't know who you are. And then turns out she said, oh my God, you have a podcast. And then she just started pouring out her life and just saying, you just have no idea how much you've changed my life. And she started getting teary-eyed, and she's like, oh my God. And she just started going on and on and on. And that touched me so much, not from an ego point of view, because I'm just a person trying to help and encourage people. So it has nothing to do with ego. But it touched me because I thought to myself, she doesn't know this, but I cried later when I got home that night. I thought, wow, God grew me in dark places. And even when I didn't think I was growing, he was preparing me and allowing me to go through situations so that I can turn around and touch people like this lady who for the first time met me and ran up to me, and she's just in tears about how her life has been changed. Does that make sense? The growth from the dark places is producing fruit. There was a situation happened when I returned from this conference I was at, and I was gone for a couple of days at the conference. And again, I won't go into detail because the details are not necessary, but let's just say when I got home, situation happened, and I was so tempted to get on the phone and just call one of my friends and complain to them about the situation that happened and how, I thought it was unfair and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I wish I can go into detail, but I couldn't. But it was a situation that happened that just totally threw me off guard. And just as I was about to pick up the phone and call someone just to kind of complain about it, and I've really gotten away from doing that, by the way, so I surprised myself the fact that I was about to. God reminded me, and it was a very hurtful situation. I just won't share the details. God reminded me so quickly. I know this is one of those little sort of dark place moments, and he reminded me so quickly, I'm trying to teach you something. I'm growing you. So I put that phone down, and I says, okay, God, what is it in this that you want me to learn? Because my natural tendency is to do this. What is it you're teaching me? Because this is a dark place. And I'm not referring to my home. I'm referring to the situation. I said, this is a dark place. I've been here before. This hurts. What are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to teach me? And he was just speaking to me so clearly. I'm growing you in this. I'm teaching you don't respond the same way you used to respond. I'm teaching you, you come to me. I'm teaching you that even in the midst of what you feel is an injustice, or you feel like you're not being treated well, or this situation, I am teaching you that you can still stand and hear my voice. I'm teaching you that you can use this moment to teach others. Does that make sense? It was another dark moment or a dark place. So I'm not going to talk too long. Hopefully you all were able to follow me in this. But I just want you to be aware. You can still grow in dark places. Now, I know that there are some circumstances that are extreme. And I'm not saying keep yourself in a situation where, your safety's at risk and this and that. So those are what I call outliers. There's always outliers in the examples that I give. And you guys have to get advice and pray and speak to professionals and what have you to get the kind of help you need in your life if you're in an extreme circumstance like that. And by the way, I've been in some circumstances too like that. Go back and listen to my other podcasts, you'll know. But for the most of us, when we're in these dark places, we feel that we can't grow. We feel that we're powerless. That's probably a really good word to use. We feel powerless. And I'm just here to let you know you're not. You can still grow in those dark places. And I pray that down the line, when you look back, in hindsight, when you look over your shoulders, you thank God for some of those dark places you've been in, because now you're able to go back and pull others from those dark holes and give them hope that the light is going to come shining through and they're going to grow from it. Anyway, I love you all. I'm very excited about the 100th episode that's coming up really, really soon. I can't wait to tell you about the changes and things that God has put in my heart to do. Oh my goodness, that's a podcast all by itself to talk about how when God calls you higher, and are you ready to go higher in what he's calling you to do, even if other people are not totally with you in your next move, but how you got to listen to the call of God and what he's telling you to do in your life. So I'm excited. We're getting closer and closer to the 100th episode. All I can tell you is there's a lot of different things that's going to be happening, and God is really calling me higher, and I'm excited about it. I'm not going to say my community text number, but if you look in the show notes or whatever you call it, I don't know if you call it show notes, whatever you call it, if you look in the notes, from whatever platform you're listening to me on, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, I don't know, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, because, my podcast goes all over. Look in the show notes and you'll see my community text number. I would love for you all to text me. You can just text the letter Z and I'll reply back to you. And I actually, for everyone that's joined so far, I've actually personally texted them back, welcoming them. So I would love for you all to join that so that I can keep you updated on some very special things that I'm doing. Anyway. What was the title of this? What did I say I was going to call it? I think I said something about growing in darkness or growing in dark places. I just want you to be aware. It is very possible that you can grow in dark places. And I don't want you to ever give up, okay? I love you all. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. Please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button. Love you all. Bye-bye.